Welcome back to the Irish NFL Show's reaction to the first day of free agency moving around. This is the legal tampering period. I'm not quite sure what how we should be officially titling this, but it's the first day of everything that's going to changing in the league. And it's funny how in the modern day how we actually get our news. I found out that Mike Evans was leaving Tampa Bay to go to San Francisco when I saw a meme of somebody picking up a turkey leg that disintegrated, and underneath was a caption being, "This is Mike Evans' leg when he goes plays in front of that power. What's it? The power facility in the power substation in San Francisco,
yeah.
which people believe has got something to do with the high injury rate that they're having here." And I'm like, oh, okay, this is a big news. I feel like that wasn't the way I should have been told that, but Ciaran, I'll throw it to you first. I mean, obviously, Mike Evans has been a part of Tampa for so long. It's just interesting to see that out of all the places he could have gone to, it was San Francisco. But it's definitely sort of perked people's eyes open that, okay, this is a nice little weapon for San Francisco to maybe sort of bring in here. Again, all jokes aside, fitness is still important. That was the reason Mike Evans didn't get his 1,000-yard season last year. But I don't know. I think this could be this has a potential to be a sweet enough move for San Francisco.
Well, they're hype about it. So I mean, that tells you all you need to know. He's still got it. I mean, we all know that he missed the 1,000-yard mark again last year, but he's still got it. He's got phenomenal hands. Huge guy. Yak with him it just goes hand in hand. I mean, we hear about Alec Pierce with his yak, but I mean, just Evans is just great. Just bodies bouncing off him. Doesn't seem to be any ill will or any kind of bad blood with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just one of those kind of change of scenery things. Probably real down after last year. Probably upset about his role and that he wasn't able to be on the field and help out. So it'll be good for him. It'll refresh the Niners kind of wide receiver core, because we don't know where Jennings is going to go at this stage. He's going to be moving somewhere. So a nice addition for him. He's a Texas kid, so he's probably a little closer to home now. And it'll be good for him, just rejuvenate. And, I'm sure he stays healthy. He's going to have another 1,000+ yards next year.
Is California closer to Texas, or is Florida closer to Texas?
It's kind of in the middle.
Yeah, America's so large. It's like,
well, he went to Texas A&M, which is it's kind of on the western side of Texas. So I think he's inching towards home.
I see. Just so he could see College Station as he's on the plane heading over to California before booting up there. Craig, I'm going to go to you for news coming out of New Orleans. Actually, I'd be interested in both of your takes on this, because obviously, Ciaran, you would have seen Travis Etienne play a lot in Jacksonville, but New Orleans, the NFC South is a very gettable division, as we talked about. I mean, I've already made my claim that New Orleans are in a good position to make a push for the NFC South, but in order to do that, they need to find weapons, would be find a way to build around Tyler Shough, and they've decided to bring in Travis Etienne, a Louisiana boy. So he's coming back to his home state. We know it's interesting that I think I'm right in saying that Etienne and Trevor Lawrence have been teammates since 2018. They were both at Clemson, and now that has obviously split up. But I guess from the Saints' point of view first, Craig, like this seems like the kind of move they probably should be making. Interesting, they haven't quite made moves on offensive line just yet. The draft might be where they go and get that, but they're deciding to invest in the run game here, knowing that they have a bit of time, money-wise anyway, to work with Tyler Shough without having to pay too much.
Yeah, and it's probably the first time in a few years that the Saints have actually had cap room to be able to do anything. They've been stuck in that cap hell for so long because Mickey Loomis just seems to push money down the road, and they're still paying for Derek Carr this year, and that's never going to help. And they just always seem to be at the cusp where before the league starts, they have to flood money away from themselves. And what they've done over the years because of this, in my opinion, is they've gotten old, and they are a team who just tend to, at certain positions, be too old. And this is one of those positions. Alvin Kamara is 31 years old. We're not saying that he's slowing down, but he's definitely going to be on the decline. He's been used very heavily. We know what it's like when a running back has, a bit of tread on the tires. And what they're now getting is somebody who is going to be younger and going to bring more of an X factor back to what New Orleans has been, which is a run-first team a lot of the time. Now, Etienne can also contribute in the passing game. He was one of only 6 players to have 5+ rushing touchdowns and 5+ receiving touchdowns last year. So he does give them that dual back ability. And, $13 million per year. He's the seventh highest paid running back it's not awful. But you say about the offensive line, they did address the offensive line here as well. They did pick up David Edwards from the Bills, who was the top guard on the market, and immediately upgrades that position. They were awful at guard this past season and really needed to do something there. He's a consistent starter. He's solid in the ground game. He improved in pass protection in 2025. Like, he only allowed 4 sacks across the entire season. So I think they're the 2 big splashes that the Saints are likely to make this year. And, as years go by and salary cap goes up, they're going to be able to make more of these. But I think what they've done here is considering what they have to deal with.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, you've had a chance to see him up close, Ciaran. Like, obviously, 3 seasons in the last 4 years where he's got over 1,000 yards, and obviously injury hit him a little bit in 2024. Is he much of a game changer though, or does it sort of depend on what he's given with ETN? I was never really able to sort of properly decide as to what side of that divide he lands on, and that's interesting and important now, considering that the league, after a couple of years where the running back seemed like almost an irrelevancy, based on just how strong the passing game would be. Having a good running back and being able to rely on that and drive that and try to put as much weight on his back as possible is becoming more and more important, and especially between the New Orleans who are trying to make a break to it.
Yeah, well, he picked a good year to be a free agent because, I don't want to say the career year, but what was the big knock on ETN over the years was his fumbles. And he cleaned that up towards, definitely. He had some issues the first half of the season, as all the Jags players did, especially Lawrence. But, once that break, that bye week came, they just turned the switch. And the thing with ETN is the value is, he's been valued by the Jags. Obviously, the Lawrence and ETN connection was a huge factor for the Jags. But I think for him, the fact that he's able to clean up the drops and the spills is going to be a big thing for him. It's definitely improved his reputation. I know it did around Jacksonville, because there was a lot of people, not just last year, but the early part of the 25 season, who were wondering if it was ever going to come right for him, because, he was going through the doldrums. And, we remember week 1 of the 2024 season against Miami when he fumbled the ball in the first game when they lost that one. And that was just the precursor for a terrible season for them. So it kind of hung around him like a bad smell, but he was able to kind of tighten up. And luckily for him, it was a free agent year, and that reputation has gone away. Solid running back. Just he's bigger than he looks. But again, pass catching ability, which is a great thing for running backs, which is not you'd think it would be second nature, but it's not a big factor for a lot of running backs, but for him it is. So dual weapon. Like I said, going back to Louisiana, similar to Evans, change of scenery. He definitely wasn't on. And I saw the Cohen and ETN dynamic. It was cordial, but you got the impression that Cohen wants somebody else in there. So they move on.
Interesting, because a quick one coming out of Denver. Dre Greenlaw is being released, which again adds to their linebacker was an area that Denver really needed to focus on improving. Greenlaw only played 8 games last year, having some injury concerns. But instead of trying to stick with him and build around it, they seem to be sort of cleaning house and pressing the reset button. It's already starting. Some speculation of Greenlaw might actually end up finding his way back to San Francisco. There's some interesting stuff there. Let's talk about another AFC West team, though, which. And it's funny, actually, we'll talk about Max Crosby now in a minute, because I know you guys were talking about it last week in terms of the speculation that he might make a move. Of course, he has now made a move over to Baltimore. That was the big thing that happened on Saturday night, I think it was, Irish time. But let's talk about the news that Tyler Linderbaum is now moving to Las Vegas, become the highest paid center in the league. Some interesting stuff on this, Craig, I was listening to. Obviously, you're almost expecting Vegas, as soon as they're getting to the point where even if they lost Crosby, where they were going to start, if they're trying to get Mendoza, the first thing they would do is spend money on a running back to go with him or a wide receiver to go with him. But they decided to go straight in protection point, which I think is almost smarter than I expected from them coming into this offseason. And that's interesting because we were talking about Ashton Genty being obviously this great addition to their offense last year. No running back in the league got tackled more behind the line of scrimmage than Ashton Genty last year. So this is important for the run game as it is for the pass game as well here. It's not just about sort of, protecting Mendoza and everything else that comes with it. I think there's a sense here, and not just in terms of the ability it brings with you, and they're spending a decent amount of cash. I think I'm right in saying that they couldn't, that Baltimore wouldn't tag him because I think it would cost $23 million, and he's pretty much getting that now from Vegas. So Vegas have decided to put up the money. They have a lot of cap room. I think they have more cap room than anybody else to work with this year, and they're not going to be blowing it all on a quarterback. So they've decided to go straight in for offensive line and to get a leader for their guy. And this is just an interesting pick. We could talk about maybe the detriment it's going to have in Baltimore, but for Vegas, maybe this actually seems like a more sensible kind of thing than I was expecting to happen as soon as we all expected that Mendoza was going to be their next quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing you've got to look at is just have a look at how he does PFF grade wise in the terms of how he is. Now, as a pass blocker, he's been inconsistent. He had a really good year in 2023. Other than that, it's been okay, but not incredible. But it's the run blocking. You're looking at 84, 78, 82, 83 since he's come into the league. And they have Ashton Genty, as you've already said, who is going to be the game changer for the Raiders. They need to unleash Genty. And when they have done it, you've been able to see what he's able to do. But the problem is that they weren't able to do it consistently enough. And Genty kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit in Las Vegas. This is a big thing. The only thing bigger than what they've actually done here is the contract, though. Like 81 million. You look at the average per year. I've got the numbers here. Average per year, the highest paid center was Creed Humphrey from Kansas City, who was being paid 18 million a year. Tyler Linderbaum is being paid 27 million per year. That's a jump of 9 million average value from the highest to the second highest paid center. So they have thrown the bag at him. You understand it. He is a multi-time Pro Bowler. He's an all-pro center. You don't tend to get many of them who are going to be able to anchor that middle. Obviously, they're going to pick up Mendoza. It makes sense to have somebody of his caliber there to grow with Mendoza, because let's not forget Linderbaum is not old either. He's, reaching those peak part of his years. So it is a phenomenal deal. Probably the big splash. We all expected it. We knew he was going to get a lot of money, but yeah, wow, they really did go all out on this one.
Well, it makes sense to this for us, Ciaran. Is this a great investment or way too much money for an offensive lineman?
Well, I mean, the other thing is that the cap has gone up to 300 million now, so teams got a little bit more wiggle room. I mean, maybe the last 2 or 3 years he wouldn't have got such a big amount, but I mean, the whole story coming into free agency was that Linderbaum was going to get the bag, and the Ravens couldn't keep up with it. And Vegas doing typical Vegas things, just threw the money around. So I would have loved him with the Giants, but I think the price would have been too high, and it would have been, it would not have made economic sense or financial sense. But yeah, listen, you got to have a good center. I mean, he's probably, he's in the top 5 centers definitely in the league. You look back at teams that are good and build consistent O-lines. You think of Olin Kreutz with the Bears. You think of Sean O'Hara. You think of, centers are they're they're centers for a reason. They're the center of that line. They keep it all together. So when you find a good one, you want to hold on to it. And he's been able to get paid. We'll see what he does with Vegas. I mean, this is just another. I mean, this is you went to the University of Iowa. Big country fed. Way out there in the Midwest. That those dudes. I don't want to say they're growing trees, but there's a lot of them out there. And he is testament to eating big and pushing big. So good for him. I would have wanted him on the Giants, but the money's pretty crazy. But I mean, that's the way the league is going right now.
They don't grow in trees; they grow in corn husks. There's a big, massive corn husk and an offensive line just comes out. That's what the Midwest is for. That's why we have it. Of course, Jalen Naylor, of course, as well, former Vikings wide receiver, coming into that Vegas Raiders. Yeah, Las Vegas Raiders setup as well. Brief word on Max Crosby. I think this is a great move from Baltimore, and it's not one I think they would have made had Harbaugh still been there. And it's funny because there's a lot of Baltimore people I was chatting to, and there's a sense of giddiness there and belief. And it's funny because most of what we're hearing from them is we need a weapon for Lamar to throw to. We need a receiver. We need a receiver. We need a receiver. But what they've got now is somebody to actually try and bolster the defense and put the pressure on. I know, like, there's other parts which have gone out. There's the name of the player who incidentally has gone to the Patriots has escaped me at the moment, but things have
Draymond
changed.
Jones.
Thank you very much. See, Craig. See, this is why you're here. This is you've got all the info. But just if we're grading moves, and obviously they came out early with this, but I think it's the right move for it's a great move for Crosby, I think, because it gets him out of a system where he can go to a team where he could win a Super Bowl in the next year or two. I think it's a statement of intent from Baltimore that if they've decided to make a change from Harbaugh, they're backing Lamar, as Lamar effectively put an ultimatum up to them early in the offseason, being like, well, listen, who you backing here? Back the players, back the squad that you have. And the person I feel the most sorry for is Joe Burrow, because he's going to have to face him twice a year now. And Patrick Mahomes managed to get away from him. So yeah, I don't know what you guys think about that. I don't know, Ciaran, you were talking about with some of the team last week in terms of his potential landing spots.
Yeah, I mean, when it broke, it was actually, I think it was around 9:30 on Friday evening, 9:30 local time here when the news broke, and I was very surprised to see it was the Ravens. I know that the Cowboys were in there, but again, the two firsts are what threw a lot of teams off. I mean, he's a difference maker. The questions are, his age, he's getting up there, and the injuries too. I mean, but when he's on his game, he's a force. I mean, on a terrible Raiders team, he was essential viewing. He just, but it got to the stage where they couldn't keep him happy. We all saw the nonsense towards the end of the season when they benched him and he was, was running around and playing basketball and all that stuff. So he's an emotional guy. He wants to feel, you can't tell a player like him, oh, we're going to bench you for no apparent reason other than, we're tanking, but we're not tanking. So that pissed him off. And then he had the Guerrero stuff that Brady might have been instigating as well to try and get the move out of there. But the Raiders got what they wanted. I thought they were going to put up more of a fight. I thought it was going to be some box office stuff, but they kind of went quietly a little bit and let him go to Baltimore. Big move for them. Again, with the Ravens, we think of the Ravens, we think of defense as well as Lamar, but we think of, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, big hitters. Even Kyle Hamilton's a big hitter for safety. So, you want to add, a nice piece like him to the defense. And, moves like this instantly make the Ravens a Super Bowl favorite. I mean, they'll be the favorite in the FC North. And who's to say that they won't go a little further than they've, threatened to go in the last, 5-6 years when they've just, kind of crapped out when it's division or championship game time. So big move for the Ravens. I like the move, with the flux going on with Harbaugh leaving and likely moving on as well. So it's a good move for them. Shows their intent, and they're not, they're not just rolling over. They're going to reload.
So breaking news coming to as we're recording, Noah Fant is going to the Saints. Craig, two things on this. Okay, obviously the Saints are obviously trying to build a few pieces and moving forward. But I think the biggest thing for us to come back to is anybody staying in Seattle? Like, Boy Mafe is going to the Bengals. Kobe Bryant is going to the Bears. Walker is gone. Fant is gone, and I think there's probably others as well, which I aren't on my list here. I know last year, like, a lot of Eagles end up sort of, spreading their wings and going to different places. The Super Bowl winning teams tend to be a target for these things. But yeah, I don't know. Just for some reason, this in Seattle, it just seems a bit. It seems like they're, the people are being moved on quite quickly. And Noah Fant obviously coming in after spending 2 years in Seattle, coming into that New Orleans setup now again to try and add something to that tight end room.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one from a Saints perspective as well, because they have Juwan Johnson there, who obviously is they think quite highly of. So to have Noah Fant go there as well, you're never going to have a single player position unless you've got an elite player there, and Juwan Johnson's still plying his trade. So I don't mind that. In the terms of the Seahawks, it is interesting. I think the biggest problem is the fact that you're not looking at teams nowadays as being like tight-knit groups that stick together through thick and thin, and the teams just stay there. I think a lot of teams nowadays are kind of all in on the ring. They get the ring, and then it kind of dissipates a little bit, and then they reset to a degree. Now, the Seahawks, when you look at what they've lost over the last sort of 12 hours or however long we've been going now, but they haven't lost any of their, shall we say, massive hitters, unless you look at Walker. Everyone else has kind of been almost bit part players in a way, but still starters. It's like they've still got a lot of their big talent there. So, Boye Mafe going, they still have Derek Hall, they've still got Nwosu there. It is interesting that they are leaving, but a lot of that defense and a lot of the culture that they built on that defense comes through players like Leonard Williams, like Junior Love, like Derek Hall, and like Byron Murphy. They are keeping all of that together. So I don't think that Seahawks fans should be too worried just yet. And also, let's bear in mind, like, we're almost what are we coming up to 10 o'clock, so we're like 6 hours in, and there's still plenty of talent out there, and there's a lot of good talent still out there as well. So I think maybe they can just have that luxury of putting their feet up that just that little bit longer.
Yeah, I think
a lot of good. Yeah, sorry, Shane. I think the Seahawks got to remember that John Schneider is driving this car, so don't freak out. He knows exactly what he's doing. Don't doubt him.
Yeah, that's true. I will say, I know the Seahawks Twitter has put maybe frazzled my mind. Noah Fant, of course, played in 2025, played for the Cincinnati Bengals. He'd already left Seattle. He didn't even win the Super Bowl. So that's completely my own fault. This free agency frenzy has fried my frazzled. I can't even think of another word beginning with F. That's a grade I should be given for that mistake. I'm not the news round Rigdon here. I make mistakes. Let's bring it back to the New York Giants. I say it looks like he's following Harbaugh up to New York, Ciaran. $40 million deal, it looks like, for the Giants. So the significant weapon that they're bringing up there, and obviously sticking with Harbaugh. It seemed like that's, it's a fit that makes sense.
Yeah, it was not really a surprise. A lot of people were saying that was going to be a likely move. Decent.
Hey.
Decent.
He's on fire tonight. He's on fire.
Decent talent. I mean, a bit of a down year. Only had one touchdown last year, and you could see from time to time he was kind of moping on the bench. I think it's, again, we're looking at players that are looking for changes of scenery. Harbaugh obviously trusts him, likes what he can bring, and he's got the talent. I mean, he had a great 24. He's a great talent. It's his down year was probably more a consequence of Lamar not being on the field as much as he could have been. So. I think it's a good move for the Giants. I'm a little upset that they gave Bellinger away and kept Stone Hands Johnson, but that's another conversation for another day. I just I would like Mr. Johnson to ship up, or whatever the phrase is, but that's a pure Giants podcast take, so I'll keep it to that. But yeah, good pick for the Giants. I mean, tight end's one of the needs. And he can block as well. He's got great hands, but he's a tenacious guy in there as well. There's a lot of good footage of him just laying the lumber down and knocking guys out of the way. So I'm happy with that move.
Greg?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what Ciaran's saying about Theo Johnson, 7 drops last year. Isaiah Likely 1 drop last year. He didn't have like you say, he didn't have the best of seasons in the terms of the numbers. But all you have to do is think back to, was it week 1 with the touchdown that was taken off the board against the Chiefs, and how he was able to corral that in, and the body control that he has as a bigger guy. And like you say, the one thing that the Giants seem to not be able to do, or at least haven't been able to do in the last few years, is get the balance of tight end right. They either have that pass catching tight end, or they have the pure blocking tight end like Chris Manhertz, who signed a new 1-year deal with the Giants as well. But Isaiah Likely kind of gives you a little bit of both. He might not be outstanding at both of them, but what you want is a all-round player. And he's also a player that John Harbaugh knows well. And there were rumors coming out before today that Isaiah Likely and John Harbaugh didn't see eye to eye a lot of the time in Baltimore. But like you say, it can be a number of things. It could be scheme, it could be just the fit in the team, it could be something else that's in the localized area of Baltimore that just didn't work for Likely. And something like moving to the Giants is a big step and is different there. And you never know, we could really see him light it up. But the Giants lost Wandale Robinson. They need somebody who's going to be able to maybe deal with some of that short yardage stuff. I know Wandale didn't do a lot of it last year, but we're going to need that kind of slot receiving. You could quite easily put Likely into that slot and have another tight end there and go from there. So I think it's a great deal.
Right. The last thing I want to touch on is the sort of big blue migration to Tennessee. Interesting, like Daniel Bellinger, tight end, who recently played for the Giants. Wandale Robinson, wide receiver, recently played for the Giants. Cordell Flock, cornerback, recently played for the Giants. And center Austin Schlottman, recently played for the Giants. What have they all got in common? They've just signed for the Tennessee Titans, who of course have Brian Daboll working in there as a coordinator. So what's going on here? Why are they so heavy on just guys who don't happen to be in the phone book of Brian Daboll?
Here's one for you, Ciaran. You'll appreciate this as a fellow Giants fan. Yeah, you look at Wandale Robinson, you look at Daniel Bellinger. Daniel Bellinger was great for his first few games. Had the eye gouge incident against the Jags, I believe it was, in his rookie year. And after that, just never was the same player again. Then you look at Wandale Robinson, who's been force fed the ball just horrifically for the last 2 years because of neighbors being injured. And then you look at the usage of both of those players under Brian Daboll versus what it was like under Kafka this last season. And they both go and migrate across to go under Brian Daboll and a Brian Daboll-led offense as well, because he's the offensive coordinator. I don't know if it makes sense to me. And a little bit of it looks like bag chasing. Because you look at the money that the Titans have put up for those two players in particular, in Bellinger and Wandale, it's a lot. And then obviously Cordell Flott. Cordell Flott, I love Flott. I think he is a very good cornerback, but he is a little bit light and could do with putting on a little bit of timber. But the Titans went out and they made another move. They got Deontay Taylor from the Saints as well. So they've obviously seen that cornerback position as a bit of a focus. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what Ciaran thinks of the fact that two offensive players that didn't exactly set the world alight under Brian Daboll have just been paid big bucks to go and work under Brian Daboll.
Yeah, well, I mean, Shane had very few success stories in drafts. I think Wandale was one of the ones he hit on. So I mean, he was serviceable. I know, Dable loved him because he was an outlet, relatively good hands. And Bellinger he loved too. I mean, Bellinger, he's tied to Bellinger from his first year as well. It's just familiarity for me. I mean, it's Dable just knowing what he's got. We got a lot of unknown factors. Dable knows these guys. The Flott thing, I'm surprised with the numbers. I mean, again, like Craig said, not the biggest guy. But for me, good for him. He got paid. But I'm okay with the Giants just retooling that whole secondary. I think if we just clean house, just forget whatever was there last year with to get rid of the smell of Kafka from that whole back four, that whole back five. Just remove it, get fresh blood in again, and wish Flott good luck in Tennessee. It's really, with the offensive guys, it's just familiarity for me. It's just Dable knows the dudes, and good for them, especially Bellinger. I love Bellinger. I wish Bellinger could have stayed. I was just hoping, like you said, Craig, his first year with the Giants showed a lot of promise, but that eye gouging thing, whatever happened after that, it just kind of tailed off.
Right. On that note, is there anything else which has caught your eye? Was there anything else over the course of today? There's been so much news and so much else happening. Like, we didn't even touch on the fact that the Commanders are booking in Odafe Owale, and there's other bits going on in the league as well. Is there anything in particular which you thought was interesting from free agency, for the free agency frenzy today?
I mean, the Tremaine Edmonds to the Giants, not to go too Giants heavy, but that's a nice pickup. I'm not gonna. I did want to put that out there. That was a nice move and good money too. Anzalone to the Bucks. Again, they need help on defense. I thought that, and he may still go there, Hendrickson. But it's a nice pickup for him. He's a hell of a linebacker. That was a nice move for the Bucks.
The first deal of the day. The first deal of the day, straight out the traps. Alec Pierce staying with the Colts. If there's one thing that Daniel Jones now knows how to do, it's push himself onto a tag to get one of his teammates to get paid big bucks, and that's what's happened once again. Is Alec Pierce gets a bag at the Colts. Makes sense. He said he loves the city, and he is going to be the the big receiving threat there. And if he continues the way that he has done, then fair play to him. I think the only other one that stands out to me and is one that I'm kind of a little gutted that the Giants didn't do is Jamel Dean to the Steelers. I think that's a really, really good corner they picked up there from the Bucks. Top tier speed, really, really good in coverage. Matches up with deep threats really well. I just think that will really fit kind of Pittsburgh style, and that's a real big one. I think the Giants were in on him as a secondary to flop because they were all in on flop, but to lose out on both sucks. But yeah, Jamel Dean to the Steelers, that's a really good pickup for the Steelers.
Yeah, I think Rashawn Gary to the Cowboys is an interesting one. It's like the Micah Parsons ripple effect has ended up in somebody going from Green Bay to Dallas. It'll be interesting to see how that goes on and just how aggressive Jerry Jones will be this offseason. Generally, he isn't, as we know. So that's it from me and from us. And I say this from us because as we are going live tomorrow at 9:00, it will be Connor, Ciaran, and Brian. That is the roster. We're doing a complete strip over. Us three here with our non-Irish passports are being moved over for the full tilt of
full Irish,
the full Irish sausages, rashers, pudding, the whole shebang. Which is which, I don't know. But thank you very much for listening to the Irish NFL show. There's a lot of stuff that we couldn't quite touch on in an hour here, but you can see if you go at Irish NFL show across social media, you will see all the updates and all of our analysis and tweets and little bits and pieces over the course as well. And like we were saying, there'll be more podcasts and live show coverage over the course of this week, and plenty more graphics coming from Greg's mountain, and I mean mountain of very good graphics in fairness. So for now, thank you very much for listening to the Irish NFL show.